So we have a wonderful engagement couple of mine that I photographed a few weeks ago, and we had some rainy, stormy clouds that were hanging out all day, and we thought it was going to rain. We thought it was going to rain ahead of time, and she had brought an umbrella. So at the end of the day, as we were walking back to the car, the sky was looking amazing. The sky was dark. The sun was setting, and it wasn't really raining, but I thought, let's do a shot with the umbrella anyway. That's going to be kind of fun. So what I wanted to do was, get them snuggling with the umbrella, but I needed light in the umbrella because otherwise it would have been just completely silhouetted. So he's holding a light in front of them, and that's what's lighting the umbrella, and it's lighting the tree. I have another strobe over on the right that's sitting on my camera bag, and that's what's filling in sort of the back they're facing me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune this image up. I'm going to take some time, and what I want to do is fix a few things in this image as sort of a final. If you look over on the right hand side, we've got right in that area right there, we've got some marks that I would like to remove from there. What I'm also going to do is in the lower right hand corner in this area right in here, we've got some highlights that I want to get rid of. We've got the tree up in this area up at the very, very top. I want to darken some of those branches. I got this spot right here, right above the umbrella that I want to bring down. I want to add some warmth in the umbrella in this area right here. Probably do some saturation or some stuff in the sky. And then on the tree, on the trunk of the tree over here on the left, it's a little too dark. I would like to see the tree trunk in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start editing, and there's a couple different ways that we can fix some of this stuff. No one way is exactly the right way or the perfect way or has to be done that way. It's just the way that I'm going to do it. And there's no order. You can do it in any order you want because they're layers, so you can always go back. So I'm going to clean up this ground right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a heel layer. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to come down here and clean up some of this. I don't know what this is, so you can use the bracket keys. And basically, you're just going to paint right over the object that you want to remove. Grab that secondary point. That's where it's going to clone from and clone into. So we're doing that. I can turn off the mask. I'm going to get rid of this right here. Now, if I just paint in this again, it's going to draw from the same area basically in reference to what this one does. It just keeps duplicating it. So from here it'll draw from somewhere over here. You can see it duplicated that grass right there, which I'm okay. That's fine for me. We won't really see that. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom out, and I'm going to get rid of this highlight in the lower right hand corner. So I'm going to create another layer. Now it's probably a good idea to label your layers. Lower right. I don't normally label them when I'm working. I just work, and then I go back and have to click them on and off. So probably not a bad habit. So do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. We're going to do a linear gradient. I'm going to draw right up in there. If you hit M, that shows your mask. You can see where I'm going to be applying this effect. You can see how the fall off is. The further out you drag it, that's where the fall off is. I don't want it out there. I want it right here. If I drag the bottom down, give me a little bit more of a gradient. That's perfect. And in this case, you could pull down exposure or brightness. Either one would probably work just fine. Sometimes I like to do brightness because I feel like it leaves the highlights alone. But in this case, I want to get it down nice and dark, so we'll do that. All right, so I'm going to fix these highlights in the background. So let's go ahead and zoom in on those. Hold down the space bar, grab the hand, move over there. And I'm going to do another layer, and we'll just call it lights fix. Such clever names. So I'm going to use a paintbrush tool to draw a mask. Let's get in there a little bit closer so my brush is more accurate. There we go. Now in this case, I just need these to basically go to black. So I'm going to paint over that. Let's see my mask. Maybe a little bit more. Oh, you know what? I didn't make that a repair layer. Let's start that over. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to make it a heel layer. And we'll label it lights fix. There we go. Make the brush size a little smaller. paint right over that. And just going to try to choose where to clone from. Now I know that I want a dark area to come back in there. There we go, which I'm okay with. Get a little bit lower there. That's good. Now each of these will draw from the same basic area, so I don't need to make a new layer for each and every one of those. And I could probably even get rid of these little marks right here. Yep. All right, so we could also come up here and grab the dust spot tool and just sort of click on each of the dots that we want to get rid of, and then it smartly grabs an area next to it. I think maybe this one, I missed it. There we go. That's perfect. So what it's going to do is it's going to look for an area nearby to clone in nice and clean. And that's good for that. It looks like we've got most of those. Don't see any dust spots in the sky. That's good. We don't like dust spots. All right, so the next bit that I want to fix is some of these highlights in the trees. So like the branches, I want to bring that tone down just a little bit. So let's go ahead and make a new, we'll just make a new empty layer. And let's just label that branches, probably ES, right? There we go, because it matters. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a linear gradient just to select in the main area that I'm going to be working in, which is this area right here. There's your layer mask. If you want to see what it's going to look like, maybe move that. I'm really interested in these big branches that you see moving around up in there. So now I'm going to do is grab the Luminar range, turn on the display mask so I can see it. And the goal is if I slide this to the right, it's going to remove shadows and leave highlights. So I'm really looking to grab mostly the branches, but I'm okay if a little bit of the sky gets in there. So I'm going to say apply. Good. Mask turns off. And then I'm going to pull down, let's pull down the brightness a little bit. Oh, that's good. Maybe see what the highlight recovery does. Nope, it's not in that range. So I didn't completely remove it. And if I pull it down too far, it's going to look very unnatural. I'm just looking at taking out the majority of the brightness, just bringing it down just a tad. Now there's another area in here that I want to get rid of. So let's make another empty layer. And I'm going to call this one the small branches. There we go. So it's this area right here that I want to fix just above the umbrella. So the way I'm going to do that, I already got that. Let's grab ourselves. Oop, I didn't want to make a new one. But it did what I wanted, or what I said, not what I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to draw a mask, make the brush a little bit bigger. And I just want this area right here. That's all I'm really going for right there. And if I hit the mask tool, you can see I've selected just a circle around those branches or within those branches. Same thing, Luminar range. Turn the display mask on, and I'm going to slide this over so I clip out the darks. There we go. You can see underneath in the clouds, I've got a little bit selected in there. I'm going to hit apply. Now what we can do is I'll hit M again to show the mask of that particular layer adjustment, and I'm going to get the erase tool. Make my brush a little smaller. I'm just going to get rid of that mask under there. So you can see, we can probably zoom in a little bit, probably wouldn't hurt. You can see I've selected really just the branch right there, which is perfect. Turn off that mask, and I'm going to bring down the exposure slider. There we go. I don't mind if there's a little bit of light on there, but that's really what I want. And because it's a small portion, I can be more extreme with my adjustment. Okay, so let's work on the umbrella. Since we're in nice and close, select the tool, hand, move it. So what I want to do here is I want to darken the umbrella a little bit, and I want to make it warmer, because I think it's a nice separation from the blue sky in the background. So let's make a new layer, and we'll label that umbrella. There we go. And what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and turn on my mask. I'll just hit M. I'm going to grab the paintbrush to draw a mask. make it a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to get a little bit of glow in the umbrella. And I'm okay if it goes over. And I do want a little bit on their faces, so I'm intentionally hitting their faces right there. All right, let's turn the mask off. Let's bring the brightness down on the umbrella just a tad. And I'm going to increase the Kelvin because I want it to be a little bit warmer. There we go. And I can see that I probably need it to overlap a little bit more here and here. Let's go ahead and zoom out because that's really the viewing point. Now it's a little bit too warm, so the effect of the umbrella layer is a little bit too dramatic. So we can grab the opacity slider and we can pull that down. So you can turn it all the way off. You can see it's off or all the way on. That's probably too much, so probably somewhere in there. It's just the feel. And as I look at this, I would really like the light that's on them to be a little bit darker, to give me a little bit more of a silhouette. So I'm going to make another layer. And I'm just going to be sloppy and leave that layer alone. And I'm going to grab the brush. And let's make the size of that. I'm just going to paint in there because I know once you've done this a bunch of times, you kind of get a good sense that, yep, that's what the mask is going to look like. And I'm just going to bring down the brightness. Right there, maybe a little bit more. There's a little bleed off of his shoulder. So without even looking at the mask, you can come into the erase tool and just erase a little bit off that edge. Right there, right there. Let's just look at the mask tool just for the sake of seeing it. There we go. So that's helped quite a bit. So that just sort of brought down the exposure on them just a bit. And for me, what that does, it just gives me more separation because I'm really looking just to create more separation. All right, moving right along, let's bring some detail back up in this tree on the left. I'm not going to be able to get it all back, but I can definitely get some of it back. So let's go ahead and change the name of this layer. Tree. Grab the draw mask. Make it fairly big. And I know what I want to do here. I want to bring the shadows up. And I'm just going to brush it in there just to see what it does. Maybe a little bit in the trees. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Bringing up some of my foreground a little bit. I don't like the shadows to go completely black, especially in the foreground, because then I feel like it's just an absence of detail. So I'm really just adding detail in there by bringing the shadows back. And if you ever want to see what's available in your image, just go back to the background and just grab that shadow slider. Be like, there's a lot of detail in those shadows that we could work with. Same thing, like what can the highlight bring down? Ooh, I like that. Look at that. I didn't even notice that. Brought the umbrella down a little bit. I do like that. All right, perfect. Bring those shadows up just a tad. This is how I work. I mean, I literally have a rough idea where I'm going, but I play. Especially on an image like this, there's just so much that we can do. So let's go ahead and crop this a little bit. So you can hit C. That's your shortcut for crop. And I want them to be off center. I want to keep that tree in the top branch. There we go. Right there. I think I rotated it a bit. Let's rotate that back. That's good. I like that. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to darken it, probably with levels. I don't want to use curves, I use levels. I'll clip the shadows a little bit. Now I know it seems a little ridiculous, like, oh, you brought the shadows up and then you're going to clip the shadows, bring the shadows down. Well, the nice thing is that it's raw and Capture One doesn't care how I bring the shadows up or down. It's just how I work. I get it to a point and then I'm like, you know what's a little too bright or it's a little too dark, and then use whatever tool works best for you to do that. There's no right or wrong way. It's your image. You can do whatever you want. So what I'd like to do now is I really want to warm up the highlights that are in the clouds. I think that would give it more of a sunset look, and although it's not, there's a little bit of sunset color in there, but I want to play with it some more. So I'm going to create a new layer, and let's just call this one Clouds Warm. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer now. For this one, make sure that it's set to new filled layer. And that's important because technically what we have is a mask over the entire image. And I'm going to do Luma range. and I'm going to pull that down. I'm just going to guess that it's going to be there. Give it a second to do all the math. There we go. And it's grabbing the clouds and the highlight area in there just like I like. Let's let it blend in a little bit. So what this first pin does is that's the blend mode, like how much it blends or clips. If I pull it right back, you'll have a very harsh edge. So that just gives you an opportunity to blend that a little bit. That's good. I'm going to clip some of that out. So that's good. I feel good with that. So let's go ahead and hit apply. There we go. Now what I want to do is I'm going to turn the mask off. So what I want to do is I just want to add warmth to that. So I'm going to grab the Kelvin slider and I'm going to slide that up. That's nice. And I could even make it a little bit more magenta or cyan. Those are extreme. Double click on the slider. Yep. So if you ever want to reset a slider, just double click on the slider and it'll go right back. So I'm going to just warm this up just a tad. I really like that. And I think that it plays well into the umbrella being a little bit warm as well. And I'm going to jump down here and pick my background because overall I would like a little bit more saturation in the color. I don't want it to be unnatural. That's very unnatural. But I want it to be believable. It was quite a dramatic sunset. So there we go. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's the end game. So let me create a copy of this. If we right click and we say create or clone the variant, so what we're going to do is create a new variant, and what that's going to do, there we go, I made a copy basically of the copy. If we did new variant, it would make a copy without the adjustments, which I could have done, but because what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this just to show you what it looked like before. There we go. So this is our before with all the lights and the bright right-hand corner, the flatter sky, the bright branches, and this is our after. So there you go. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with me at spicyjello.com, or if you're on the YouTube channel, that's Spicyjello, all one word, on YouTube. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.